Since you listen to Broads and Books, we've got another podcast that you should check out.
Picture dollar bins at bookstores, garage sales, old storage units. Now picture the kinds of books you'd find there.
We're talking pulpy, sassy, often very dated old books.
Dirt Cheap is the podcast from Neon Hum Media that focuses on these kinds of books.
Each season, hosts Amanda and Jeffrey explore these forgotten and discarded pulp novels. And not only that, they read the damn things to you, stopping to discuss along the way.
This season, they're reading the book Murder in the Glass Room, an L.A. noir novel that almost became a movie.
It features Phil Norris, a misanthropic bookie-turned-detective who's bad at his job and obsessed with furniture for some reason.
I mean, who's not really, right?
Right.
They're reading the book chapter by chapter to you and giving some hilarious commentary along the way.
You know we love weird humor and even weirder source material, so we think you will too.
So check Dirt Cheap out. We've got the link in our show notes below. And thanks for listening. Hello, and welcome to Broads and Books. I'm Erin.
And I'm Amy. And this is episode number 81, Chasing Pavements.
I gotta tell you.
Tell us about this, Erin.
I just love Adele so much.
What's not to love?
I can put that on no matter what mood you're in, and it fits.
I tell you what, after she hosted SNL earlier this year, a whole new appreciation for her, too.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's got some pipes.
Oh,
and
boy, she sure
knows
does.
how to use them.
Yeah. So what is it about this song that you really liked?
This song I like because you can take it so many different ways. I mean, I think essentially on the face of it, it's about a relationship that she's chasing that you could make a determination may or may not be the best. But I also think it's just about a lot of things that we chase in life.
Chasing so much.
We
just never stop chasing.
Never stop chasing. Should I keep chasing pavements? I don't know.
Do you want to try and do a karaoke of Adele? You want to
But
try
I
it
think
right
we
now?
should do it like spoken poetry.
Oh, that's much better because we're
Yeah.
not going to get to her
No,
voice.
no,
That's real bad.
Even if I knew my place, should I leave it there? Should I give up?
Oh, my goodness. It just keeps on going. In case you've ever wanted to hear Erin do spoken word Adele, we're delivering it this week.
I feel like that could be, we would be dynamic at that.
Oh, man.
So
well,
great.
I'm just picturing us in like big wigs like Adele did
Yes.
in that weird Africa sketch. That like,
Yes.
I don't know what it was, but it was
Maybe
great.
some bongos.
Oh, yeah.
Boop, boop, at the end of each line. Doot, doot.
Oh, boy. Well, thinking about the idea of
Yeah.
chasing stuff.
Yes.
Have you ever given up on something? You've given up chasing something. And then after the fact, you felt like that was a good decision. Like, I'm glad I stopped chasing that.
Yes.
Oh, what was it?
It was a poetry class in college.
Oh, that's a good one to stop.
Okay,
Yeah.
and to be fair, partly my fault. I misread the class description. I thought that it was an examination of poetry. I mean, I was an English major. It was something.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
I didn't have a lot of experience in poetry. I was actually looking forward to it. Like, help me understand this form a little bit better.
Oh, no. And it was writing poetry?
It was writing poetry.
Oh, no.
I didn't have a grasp, but I thought, you can do this. Like, I
Oh.
was like, no, you're not gonna, there was only like 12 people.
Oh, no.
And that's what sort of put me over the edge, is that I realized the night before our first reading, we were all going to read these poems out loud and critique them.
Oh, God.
And I was had enough self-awareness at that time to know that sitting at a round table and reading this wasn't going to go well. And that I wasn't confident enough to just pass off a blank page. Be like, that's my poem. That's my comment
Oh, my God.
on life. It's blank.
That would have been a good story.
But I don't have that. I would have
No.
been like, I'm just kidding. I don't know how to write poetry.
Because you're still wearing your khakis. You don't know how to dress in college, let alone, pass that off. Yeah.
There's too much going on
Yeah.
in that brain to handle that. And
Oh,
I was
my
like, I've got
goodness.
one option. And I've never felt such relief and freedom.
So you dropped the class?
I did drop the class.
That
yeah.
had to be such a wonderful feeling.
It was phenomenal.
Oh, my God.
It
That's
was
better than any hard drugs.
It was the euphoria. I was like, thank God, because I was
Wow.
sweating bullets trying to come. I was
Jesus,
like,
that'd be terrifying.
I don't even understand it enough to write. I mean,
No.
I'm not. Poetry is beautiful, and I think that people that can write that is such a unique way
Oh,
of
God, yeah.
writing and viewing things. And when it's done beautifully, it is unlike anything else. And I understand there's a lot of pros that are like poetry, but that's just not where I was at. And I was actually really looking forward to a class about learning more about it.
The appreciation of poetry. Yes.
I just didn't know that it was writing
Oh,
it.
you just didn't read the full course description.
No, I didn't. And I don't know
Oh.
what happened. I even went back to the book and I was like, did I read one above or below it? Like what? No, it was just,
It was just there.
It was
You
just there.
fully
I just
missed it.
Put my
Okay.
own, what I wanted it to be and signed up for it based on that.
Oh, and doesn't that happen all the time where we just see
does.
what we want to see?
Yeah, I did. And I got
Oh.
out of there and I never looked back. It was the best
Did you ever take
decision.
like a poetry appreciation class, like literature class or
I
anything?
did later on.
Okay,
Yeah, I did have a poetry class later on, and which reaffirmed my decision. It was a darn good thing I didn't go
Oh,
through with that
boy.
because I can't write poetry.
Did you show up to that class and like really nervous? Like, did I get the right class?
Yes,
this time?
I was
Okay,
still very nervous. Yeah, and because it was the same professor.
Oh God.
So I was like, this could go really
so bad.
Yeah. But there was like 25 people in this
Okay,
class.
okay.
And once we got started, I was like, okay, the books seem different that I'm buying. And, there were clues before the first class that I should have known. I just didn't,
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
You made a mistake and then you fixed it.
I did.
By
Yeah.
dropping out.
See you later.
Yeah.
And I didn't, that wasn't a thing that I was accustomed
Oh,
to. Like,
no.
you couldn't do that in my high school. So,
Oh no, we couldn't. No.
yeah, you couldn't drop a class. So I just didn't, that was like foreign to me. That is the first class I dropped in college. And I didn't even know what to do. I went to my advisor. I was like, I can't, like, I couldn't even get the words out. And she's like, are you trying to drop a class?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, just fill out this form. I mean, this is pre, everything was like
Yes.
electronic, but
Can I tell you, I still have nightmares about that, of like being in a class and realizing I need to get out, and then it's past the deadline of dropping, and then I'm either going to take an F or I'm like, and I don't think I even dropped a class. So I don't know. That is just a straight up anxiety dream from no real world experience.
well, I'll tell you that you're dead on.
Yeah.
It's anxiety ridden. And I was, thank God. Because really the only reason it wasn't really a great thing at that point because it was so early on. It was just like,
Yeah.
It's like being a
You're out of your
biology
depth.
major and realizing that you signed up for British literature. Like, this isn't fitting. Like, I can't do this. So I was glad.
Oh boy.
What, have you ever given up something and regretted it?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the mid 2000s.
Okay. All right.
I was writing a novel and it was terrible. It was a real bad piece of work. But I knew I had always wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write novels. And so I was writing it and I followed through. I tried to do the best I could and it just kept sucking and it just didn't go anywhere. I was trying to like do the process of like sending it out to agents and like all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I had no business doing that at that point because this was terrible. But what sucks is that after like 3-4 years of working on this, just on and off, while I'm working full time, I started just thinking like, well, I just can't write. Like, I just can't, like, this is my,
yeah.
I'm just not good at this. So I have to stop.
Right.
So I did. And it's just, I think what I hadn't realized at the time is that you have to write a bunch of shit in order to get better.
Right.
And that was a lot of shit that I was writing.
Yeah.
And what sucks is, I almost just stopped entirely. And it was many years later that I started again. And I realized like, oh no, I've lived more, so I have more to write about. And I realized how bad that was that I was writing in my mid-20s. And, B, hey, I can do it better, and here's how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't stay in the regret category and that you started again.
Yeah.
And I know that our listeners and the public are going to be happy in October that you didn't quit.
I sure hope so.
I want you to sign every book. I sure hope you like this, Amy.
Maybe I should just have that printed and like give that out like a business card with each book. Like, I sure hope it's better than the one I wrote 15 years ago.
I sure hope this is okay.
Erin, I think part of that decision was I thought like, oh, this is just this is my instinct. I'm shitty at this. I need to stop this.
Right.
How much weight do you give your instincts or intuition, and have they served you well, not served you well?
I think that I used to ignore it more. Like when I was younger, I used to think, I don't know if I didn't necessarily think it was a thing. I just maybe didn't trust that I had it or that it worked right. Or I could feel it, but you make excuses because you're too young to really know what it means. I think I give a lot more weight to my instincts or intuition now. And it's mostly related to like people. Like I've gotten to the point in adulthood where I'm old enough to say like that's weird and I don't want any part of it. Like I can set up a boundary or a line and say, you know what, that I get a bad feeling. And it's happened a few times, not necessarily with like clients in our construction business, but clients that I do some bookkeeping for, like a couple of them that wanted services and I've met with, and I'm like, something about this doesn't feel right. And when it doesn't feel right, then it's not going to work. And I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with saying like, this isn't.
And don't you think some of that, like maybe instinct and intuition is actually just experience, like getting older, understanding like, oh no, this feeling I'm having about this person, it's probably true because I've seen enough of this to know.
I think we characterize it as red flags sometimes. And I don't even necessarily think it's red flags because you and I have had that conversation before. If you take a red flag, it might not be a red flag on a certain person, but it is on another person.
Absolutely.
Because if you get to know that person, you know their experiences. Oh, okay, well, that makes sense. So I don't even think that red flags is the right way. I just think, like you said, it's experience. It's knowing, like, okay, the last time that someone approached it like this, this is what happened, and that doesn't feel right. So, and I think as you get older, you feel more confident to say, you know what, I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I don't have the time.
Yeah.
And I don't care. And I don't care if you don't like me.
Yes.
So,
and that's something you have to learn, which sucks because for a long time you go through things thinking like, oh, no, I'm just going to say yes to everything. Or, oh, no, I'm going to believe that I'm shitty at something.
Yes. Or it's me, or I'm not giving this person a fair shake or whatever.
Yes. And I think especially that's a woman thing too. Like,
absolutely.
We're taught to kind of believe others' feelings and what they're saying maybe a little bit more than what we feel and think, and maybe our own intuition as well.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine how different high school would be if we all went back and trusted our intuition?
Christ.
I mean,
I would cut out a good 3/4 of my relationships if I had trusted my own damn intuition.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that we'd have a lot less of that mean girl syndrome because people just get put in their place like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Why are you acting like
I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would just, it would change some things. But, what can you do?
What can you do?
Well, have you ever felt like there's something that you spent your life chasing?
I think like this is directly related. I feel like I've spent a good portion of my life seeking and chasing approval.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think from everyone. I think when I'm younger, it's approval from parents, from friends, from peers, As you get older, you're still seeking that approval from parents, no matter how old you get, and from your friends, from people at work, from significant others. And it's so draining to think about like how much time and energy you spend trying to get approval maybe from people that are worth it, but from people that are not worth it.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. And I feel like as I've gotten older, and I think this is a theme of our questions so far, as I've gotten older, it's cut down way. Like you realize like, oh, okay, I've got limited energy and time. I'm not going to worry about this. But there's still that voice inside your head like, oh, God, I need everyone to like me.
Yeah.
And I need everyone to approve of me and understand me. I'm sick of it.
No, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah.
Those are pavements I'm not chasing.
Those are pavements that I'm no longer tripping over. And I'm running smoothly away.
Yes. Well, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking about those kind of rash burn things that you get when contact with pavement,
Oh, my God, yes. Oh, I had a lot of those.
I did too.
Yeah.
My knee was perpetually bleeding.
I mean, it's shocking to me that I was a runner for so long because I don't know, like so many times I fell, one time including breaking my jaw, and I was still like, nope, it's fine.
It's fine.
I can
I got
still
this.
do this. Jesus.
My instincts are telling me this is going to get better.
No, honey, they're not. They're not going to get better. No. Neither are your legs or your hips or your knees. None of that's going to get any better.
No.
So just stop it.
Stop right now.
That's what I'm saying to my younger self.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think you should.
Well, thinking about chasing, my fiction pick this week, I had another pick set up, and then this week took us for a turn. So I chose a different one.
Okay.
It's called Ring Shout by P. Jolly Clark from 2020. This came out late last year. And this is a sort of fantasy world, but also a little bit historical that sure is familiar. And Maurice is a young black woman in 1921 in Georgia. And she is a bootlegger, but she also chases monsters. And the monsters she's fighting are the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh!
But as terrifying and repugnant as the Klan is, as we know very well, in this book, they're worse because some of the Klan is actually like otherworldly creatures that she calls Ku Kluxes.
Okay.
Okay. So this book uses some actual history focused on the movie The Birth of a Nation, which came out around 1915. And it caused this huge resurgence in the Klan because it paints them in this beautiful light, like this whole Confederate lost cause bullshit.
Right.
So in this history, in the book, Ring Shout, D.W. Griffith, who is the filmmaker who made that movie, is actually a sorcerer. And with the movie, he's not only sort of encouraging and empowering regular people to be murderers, but he's bringing demons and devils into the world. And in 1921, they're re-releasing the movie, and it's cover for another spell that will bring even more demons into the world and maybe end it. So Maurice, her family was killed by the Klan. And somehow she received a magic sword that she can call upon, and it's imbued with the spirits of slaves and their ancestors from Africa. She fights with the sword, but also she fights with two other women. So it's this trio of badass women. One of the women is a sharpshooter, and another one pretended to be a man to get into World War I. So she's a veteran. Maurice also meets with these supernatural entities called the Aunties, who can see what's coming, but they don't really have power, and she's like their warrior.
Okay.
And there are human helpers, too. There's elders with some historic magic of their own. Now, I will say this is a super quick and gratifying read. This is under like 200 pages. It flies by. And this actually got a movie deal recently.
Oh.
This is going to make a hell of a movie.
Yeah, wow.
Like if you like Lovecraft Country, like I recommended a few episodes ago, this is going to be just
right up your alley.
insane.
Yeah.
So good. I chose it for this theme because these are literal, you're chasing some literal bad guys.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And this week we saw the worst of humanity, including white nationalists, QAnon conspiracy theorists, and just your typical rabid Trump fan try to take down the government. So this book, where some amazing women fight back and maybe change history, it really called to me. And it's pretty great.
You know, it just struck me when we were talking about instincts and intuition and we've talked about that a lot on this podcast about how we kind of minimize women because, you know, sometimes their ideas are better.
Yep, that's for sure.
That's what horrible scene this week.
Yeah.
But it also struck me. What was your plan?
Yes. It seemed like they
You
had
got
no
in.
follow through.
No, yeah, you got there and then you like took a podium and an envelope.
And took tons of pictures along the way with your full faces.
Yeah, which mainly just got you federal charges.
Yep.
And then
And now, by the way, you can't vote because this is going to be a felony. So
right,
you didn't
right.
think
And
that
you didn't
through.
want that for anybody,
No,
right?
you didn't
Because
want
felons
that.
aren't supposed to vote. There's some
Exactly.
people that aren't supposed to vote.
Exactly.
So there's that. Now that's a problem.
Yep.
But I was thinking quite a bit.
that's a
like,
great point.
You know, this when you mentioned that, what was the plan?
Yeah, what was that plan? Just to cause some ruckus.
Just a ruckus.
And then make the women and other people clean it up after you.
Yeah. Kind of like a toddler who throws a temper tantrum and everybody's like, do you feel better? Because we got nowhere.
Yeah, we sure didn't.
We just
and
wasted
now there's some
time.
broken shit around us.
Now you just lost
All
privileges.
your toys are broken.
Now that horned hat you can't really wear in public because people are going to see you. So
just the idea that they were taking selfies, like they didn't recognize. By the way, you're all organizing on social media, but you don't realize this is going to get out.
Right? Yeah.
Your faces are going to be known to the world.
Yeah. Or you thought that you were going to do this plan so well that it wouldn't matter. Like you would be cult heroes, and so you would be part. Like you wanted people to know your face because it was going to go so well, and then you forgot that the FBI is no joke. So that happened. Well, that sounds like a good book and a great movie.
Yeah. And like I said, it was a very gratifying idea this week in particular. And yeah, it's a very quick read. I haven't read much by him before, but after this, I want to read everything.
Yeah.
I think he writes a lot of novellas in this sort of vein.
Oh, okay.
Historical, some fantasy. But yeah, I think this movie's going to be killer.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, my fiction pick this week is also fairly new. Came out in May of 2020. It's called These Women by Ivy Pacoda.
Oh.
I just want to read you the little line that they're
Oh, boy.
using as like the teaser for this book.
Oh, okay.
Serial killer story like you've never seen before.
Oh, God.
A literary thriller of female empowerment and social change.
What?
Right? I mean,
Okay, that sounds good for this week, too.
I know. How could you not read this book?
Oh, my
You're like, wait,
God.
what? It's mystery, it's thriller, it's murder, and we got some social change.
Aw.
Count me in.
Yeah.
So, and it delivers, let me just tell you.
Okay.
Yep. So it takes place in West Adams, a rapidly changing part of South LA. And here they're referred to as these women. And we're talking about these women on the corner, these women in the club, these women who got what they deserved.
Oh, I
Okay.
see where this might be going.
So we've got, the book is divided into sections for each a different woman. And the first one that we meet is Dorian, and she lost her daughter to violence in the street. From what we understand from Dorian, her daughter was not, quote unquote, one of these women. She was not working the streets at all. And she is struggling. It happened 15 years ago, but she's still not
man.
over it. She is seeing her everywhere, and she has this insane need to save the other women on the street. And all she can really do right now is she runs this shack that serves like fried fish. And so she feeds them out of her back door whenever she can. If they want to stop, she'll give them food. But she's also really tries to insert herself in their lives, and they're all very don't want that for a lot of reasons. So from there, we meet Juliana, who is this young, beautiful dancer who Dorian is obsessed with because her daughter was babysitting Juliana. And that was the last person that saw her alive.
Oh, my
And now
gosh.
Juliana's grown up, and Dorian's worried that she's entering into this same kind of lifestyle. We meet Essie, who is a detective, who is odd, but very good at her job, and has been discriminated against and made a victim by some things that happened in her life and by other women trying to get ahead.
Ooh.
Yeah. Then we have Anarchy, who's this tough old woman who disapproves of everything. She's kind of this watchful eye on the neighborhood, and you're not really sure what her role is, but you know that she sees everything. And then we meet Mariella, who's the daughter of Anarchy, and this artist who might be the one that solves kind of the mystery that's going on. Because we have all these women that are showing up dead, and it's all the same way. Their throats are slit, and then they're suffocated with a bag over their head. And it happened for a period of time, and it seemed that Dorian's daughter was the last one. And then it stopped for 15 years, and now it started again. And it's very much targeted at these women. And so this book is such a look at how the police force looks at this, how they let things fall through the cracks because what are you going to do?
How the public looks at it.
Yeah, it's their line of work. What are you going to do? You're
Yep.
asking for it kind of thing. And how the women kind of have to band together, but then also how they don't want people in their lives, so they're kind of willing to shove someone out if they won't toe the line, which is kind of where Dorian is. Like, she wants to help, but they also don't trust her. So same with the detective. There's so many interesting angles in this book and the way that their stories all tie together. It's just like the sentence says, it's a great thriller. Like, you want to know what's happening, but it's also this slow build of like frustration that you feel as the reader of all these women in completely different circumstances, but all in the same area, kind of being discounted because they're women, and that's it. I mean, from the detective to Dorian to the women that are working in these clubs and streets, it's so maddening as you're reading it, because you're thinking, if someone was just paying attention, we would already
Yeah.
know. We'd already have the solution.
Oh my gosh.
So I love it. It was gritty, but also feminine, because the whole cast, all the characters are female.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So you're getting this. I mean, there's obviously male characters, but they're not the main characters, and we don't really know necessarily what they're thinking or feeling. We're staying very in the female side. And I picked it for this theme because they're all chasing a different life. They all want something different than what they have, but their circumstances aren't allowing that. So I think that it's a terrific book just if you like thrillers, just if you like murder mysteries, but even more so if you like the idea of thinking about people that are marginalized in our society and how justice doesn't always work the same way.
Ugh, that sounds amazing.
So good. So good.
And you said it's pretty new too.
Yeah, May
Okay.
2020.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And I haven't read anything by this author before, and I certainly will now. I saw that there was a backlist, but
Oh, good.
yeah.
Okay.
So good.
I've been in sort of, I think I mentioned this to you, I've been sort of in a book hole.
Yeah.
Where like I'm just starting, and I know we both go through this, where I'm starting and stopping tons of books, and like books that have been on lists that like are supposedly going to be really good, and I'm just not in the headspace, I'm not in the place. So I've been reading a lot of thrillers lately.
Yeah.
And it is great.
It is. Yes.
Because you get like a little bit of closure at the end.
Yes, that does feel good, doesn't
And
it?
just and the way that they're written are very propulsive. Just
And I
feels
think
good.
we're really seeing something new in that genre. I really think that we're getting a lot of authors that are writing that way, but breaking out of this idea
Yes.
and I hate to ditch on her because I read her and she's phenomenal and no longer with us, but kind of breaking out of the Mary Higgins Clark, like,
Yes.
oh, this happens, there's a killer, and we're done.
No,
Like they're
some
writing
incredible
these.
writing.
Yes,
Like
the-
Amy Gentry.
Yes.
So freaking good.
Yeah. The thrillers have so much more to say than just the actual thriller. They're giving us so much, and there's so much good writing.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes genre writing gets pushed to the side.
Yes,
Like
it
it's
gets
not
discounted.
It's not literary fiction.
Probably because it's women.
Well,
really.
yeah. But that's the idea. Like, oh, we're not Jonathan Franzen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, no one likes you, Jonathan Franzen. Okay, maybe people do, but I don't. Okay.
Well, we've gone on record with
Yeah.
that. I believe there was an episode where you went on a long rant against him.
I did.
And it was great.
Because I don't like what he's up to. And that's my instinct, and I'm trusting it.
I trust it too. At this point, we know
Yes.
who's gross and who's not.
Yeah. Gross is the best word for it.
Well, my other genre book is a novella. This came out in 2019. It's called To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. The main character is Ariadne, and she is an astronaut. And at the start of the book, she is writing home because she thinks the world needs to understand her experience. She's on a research vessel. They are traveling between planets, and in that time, they are asleep during that because it's taking so long. And they're in this sort of like state, you've probably seen this in sci-fi movies and stuff where it's almost like cryosleep or something where it's just, there's not aging, it's just helping them exist between the worlds. And when they wake up, each time, it's been so long that Earth has changed dramatically. So one time she wakes up to find that her country of birth no longer exists.
Oh.
Another time, she learns that a cult has developed around her and her research vessel and her crew, but just as quickly fizzled.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
so all of there's 4 members of this crew, and all of them are from Earth, obviously, but it doesn't seem to matter anymore because they're traveling from world to world to study and to learn. And along the way, they're actually transforming because when she wakes to explore a world that has a lot more radiation than Earth, during that time that she's been sleeping, her body has undergone transformation to convert radiation to nutrition.
Okay.
When they wake up to a world with significantly more gravity, she wakes up to find that her bones can now support her more to live in that gravity well. So instead of like terraforming a world, which you may have seen in other movies like this, they're forming themselves to match the world.
Okay.
She's, like I said, she's a member of a team. Her job, she's fixing some of the tools that help them do their research, help them do their science. And at some point, she and her crewmates, they lose contact with Earth. And they must decide whether they're going to return home or whether they're just going to keep on going. So I chose it for this theme because the research team, they are chasing knowledge just in and of itself. They are trying to understand and enjoy being out and discovering all these new worlds, these new galaxies. And they're working towards common goals together. And since they're sort of separated from this concept of time, it's even more powerful. There's this deeply sad element to the book, too, because they are separated from everything they've known. And as they keep going, the updates from Earth get more and more sort of dark and like kind of scary until they have to face this idea of like, well, do we go back and see what's happening? Because we haven't heard from them in a while. So, like I said, chasing the idea of knowledge and maybe putting that idea of gaining knowledge as more important than any specific individual, any specific country, any specific, planet that they're from. And she, like I said, is at the beginning writing home to tell about this experience of seeking knowledge and to try and maybe convince them like this was a good thing. This is what we need to do. Very short read, like I said, novella. But I think you'll find that The writing is incredible. There's some really touching stuff here. And it's interesting that we kind of talked about genre. I think sci-fi sometimes is one of those that can be maligned for like, well, it's just so focused on like plot or like, science or whatever. And no, this is literary fiction in a sci-fi world, and it's wonderful.
And I think that that's another thing. We were talking about book holes a little bit ago,
Yes.
and sometimes crawling out of them. And I think that novellas are another great way to do that.
Absolutely.
Because it requires just a little bit shorter of an attention span. You can kind of get into it. It kind of gets you back into that vibe. So if you haven't had the chance to explore some novellas, that's a great avenue.
It's true, because some of these books that I'm stopping and starting, I get like 30, 40 pages in and I realize, there's like 400 pages in this. I don't think I can do it.
Yeah.
And so it's less commitment.
Yes.
And you're getting the whole wonderful story.
Right.
There you go.
And, that is a writing talent in and of itself. To be able
really
to tell
is.
a complete story and
Yeah.
take a reader on that journey in a very short amount of time. Talent. Talent.
Yes.
Well, my other genre pick this week is called Hidden Valley Road, Inside the Mind of an American Family.
Oh, boy.
By Robert Coker. And I recommended his other book, Lost Girls, before.
And by the way, did you see that he is one of the visiting writers?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to
Yes.
say.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
coming in the Avid series. If you're in Iowa or in the Des Moines area, he's coming. They're doing it virtual this year still, and he's going to speak. And you can bet that I want to hear it because, wow. So this came out in April 2020. And this book, I don't even know if I can fully put into words. I've been talking about it all week to my family. I think they're tired
wow.
of hearing about it.
If they're tired of hearing about it, I don't trust them.
Yeah. And this is a good example. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
You should trust that instinct. Do not trust my family. This is a great example of starting and stopping books. I started this a while ago because I have a ton of respect for him as an author, and I just don't think I was in the right headspace. And I knew I wanted to read it, though. I didn't give up on it, and I started again, and for whatever this time, it was just, I couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
So this tells the story of the Galvin family, starting with Donald and Mimi. They're the head of it. They got married, and after living through World War II, they've settled in Colorado. And they're devout Catholics, strong believers in the idea of hard work, not complaining, and presenting a very polished image. So their oldest child was born in 1945, and their youngest child was born in 1965. They have 12 children.
Oh, my God.
Right? 10 boys, 2 girls. The 2 girls are the last 2 children. So they had 10 boys, then 2 girls.
That is too many children and a lot of trauma to the body.
So much. That's basically why she stopped. Like, a doctor was like, I will not treat you anymore. They were trying to have her stop way before she stopped.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So as the years progress, 6 of the 10 boys, that's half of the children, are diagnosed schizophrenic. Right?
Oh, my God.
This story is one part story of this family and one part history of schizophrenic research and mental illness treatment in the United States. And basically the author weaves both sides of these stories together. And the stories intercollide at some point because obviously the Galvin family, this is unusual, and they make the perfect test subjects for nature versus nurture.
Wow.
Because and a really good place to start looking for a genetic marker. So they are wanted later on in life by researchers for sure. But the story itself, like the family story and what happens in the family unit, is shocking and troubling and heartbreaking but propulsive. I mean, you want to know what happens to the family. You almost can't believe that this actually happened. But I really think that the magic of the book lies in the author's ability to explain how far treatments come and not come.
Oh, boy.
I could not believe that in 2020, we live in a world where some of this stuff isn't figured out yet. I didn't realize that. I think we all know that there's a big gap in funding and research and help in the mental health arena.
For sure.
I think we know that in Iowa for sure.
Yeah.
We know that in other states. It's an area that needs a lot more attention, a lot more focus for a lot of reasons. But I had no idea that there was such a lag in even scientific research and understanding diagnosis. I mean, some of these children are still alive and they still don't have answers necessarily to how 6 of them had that. They're understanding that now probably some of them were misdiagnosed. They were definitely had mental illnesses, but more like maybe bipolar or something else, but
God.
they all kind of fell into this. There is so much here. It starts with, as of course we know, with research at the beginning about mothers, that there was this idea when
Sure.
schizophrenic first came out that the mother had a direct relation to basically making her child schizophrenic by how she was. And when you're listening to the family, you kind of get caught up in like, maybe she did. I mean, there is just so much crazy and so much interesting things to dissect here. There's an element of religion, I think, of what that plays in that kind of shut up and keep quiet.
Oh,
and
sure.
This is the image we need to put out
And
there.
that time period, too.
Yes. We don't talk about problems. We don't talk about sexual abuse. We don't talk about things like that.
No.
Yeah. And I also think that there's a lot of interesting things to say about the pressure on females to present a perfect family unit.
Yep.
You know, Mimi's whole life was basically, I have these children and this is what they went on to do.
And that's still relevant today.
Very
Jesus.
relevant.
Yeah.
And how do you marry those two things when you have this sickness in your family? And how do you, you know, it talks a lot about how some of the children felt at different points, and some of the children that were quote unquote well, how they felt like they were pushed aside for the sake of the sick ones. Like, we have to save these kids.
Wow.
It's really long. I'm not going to, it's a long book, but it is so engrossing. And it's a perfect way to take it in, because I think if you just listen to this story about this family straight through, you would feel like, oh gosh, this is too much. Like, this is crazy. But having this interesting history lesson at the same time, it gives you a break from the really emotional stuff and helps you understand the point and purpose of telling stories like this. It isn't just voyeurism or entertainment or, this family's crazy, look at this. It's really, where are we all? Are we all just a step away from that? I mean, what are we doing to help change the stigma of mental illness? What are we doing to help treatment? What are we doing to help researchers and scientists? How are we advancing any of these things?
Yeah.
Where's the focus? It is wonderfully written, of course.
Wow.
I think he's a terrific writer, but so good. I picked it for this theme this week because they're chasing answers. They're chasing a treatment. They're chasing a normal family. Especially the two youngest daughters are chasing help because they're kind of left holding the bag at the end when both parents are gone. They went to therapists at different times in their lives that didn't believe their story because it seems so far-fetched. Yeah, like, how do you have 6 brothers that are... I think that they were chasing acceptance for most of their lives. So it's beautiful and heartbreaking, and I think important, and especially in this day and age where we should be talking more about mental illness and how to put more funding, how to put more emphasis on it. This is a really, really good example, and just a fantastic, interesting, crazy story.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And you're so right. Like, we've talked about how in our society there's not much of a safety net for really anyone that is struggling in any way, but mental health, it feels like it's not even a safety net. Like, there's a big hole in the middle and it's just like, yep, just fall on through. Like, there's just nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, if you can afford therapy, great, but so many people can't.
And partially the stigma, partially because of the time period, and because they were Catholic. The mom kept some secrets that maybe if other people in the family had known, they would have cracked some codes earlier.
Wow.
But that was the time. That's the way it was. That wasn't something you talked about. It is, it's so good. It's so good that you're almost disappointed when it ends, because you're like, oh, okay, whew, like,
wow,
it's over. But also, what's going on now?
Yeah,
like, has it advanced?
I mean, you said some of them are still alive. I mean, 65,
And there's this really interesting side story about one of the researchers who's a female who came up when there weren't a lot of female researchers.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And the stuff she had to overcome just to have her research taken seriously, how she basically couldn't get promoted because shouldn't you be at home with your kids? And
she probably had great ideas that they ignored.
She did. A lot of them are very groundbreaking and what is now kind of at the leading front of research of what they're trying to figure out. She was just ahead of her time. So good.
Wow.
So I would highly recommend.
And you're going to be there at the Avid.
I'm going to be on that Zoom. I tried to already register, but you can't. Apparently they let it out like a month before. So I have it in my calendar because I don't know what he's going to talk about, but I'll listen.
I did see that come out this week, and I almost sent it to you, and then I was like, oh, Aaron's on this. Jesus, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I got it, and I was like, what? And then I was like, it's virtual, right?
Yeah.
Because his is like in February, so we're not, obviously in the clear.
Yeah, they've got some good names this year.
Yeah.
Tayari Jones.
That's another one I'm excited for. Mm-hmm. They've got some real good stuff coming.
Yeah.
It's good for them.
Good for them. Good for you, Des Moines Public Library and Avid.
Doing it.
We've talked about you before, and we still like you.
We love you.
I don't know if we can ever say we love you again with like out thinking of Trump tweeting. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
That's where my head went. And I was like, oh God, no, we can't say that. Those words have changed again now.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We love you in the nice pure form.
In the actual way, and not like letting sedition go.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Glad we got that cleared up. Yeah. When we say it, this is what we mean, to be clear. Yep.
Well, pop culture this week. I got a podcast for you.
Ooh.
It's called Maintenance Phase.
Nice.
Started late last year. And you remember a few weeks ago when I talked about Aubrey Gordon, who is known as Your Fat Friend on social media? This is her, along with Michael Hobbs, who is on You're Wrong About. He also made a guest appearance on the Even the Rich podcast.
Yes.
Talking about Princess Diana. And these two, every other week, they take on a fad diet or a health and wellness trend. And they dissect it, they discuss it, they debunk it.
Interesting.
But not just that. Each episode, one of them has come to like tell the story and us. So they're telling, like, maybe it's Michael's turn this week. So he's coming, he's going to talk about this, and he's going to tell Aubrey about it, and he's going to tell us at the same time. And you can tell they haven't talked about it beforehand. So they're surprising each other.
Oh.
And the reactions and the discussion are super organic. They're super fun. And it reminds me of what we try to do, trying to surprise each other with our picks, but also our questions and our discussion. And it feels a lot like that. Like you're just sitting in the room with them, listening to them, just kind of talk about this weird thing that they brought. So here's some recent episodes. The presidential fitness test, where they first remember what that was like as a kid. And I think all of us have a real gut reaction.
Terrible.
And they reveal like the super shady origins behind it, as well as how it's just a tool to embarrass the hell out of kids.
Sure is. Yeah.
Another episode's about Snackwell's cookies, which was a whole thing. Remember those?
Oh,
I think they're still out.
Yeah.
But it was a huge like diet thing, and they dissect the logic of these fat-free cookies and what they do to the body, actually.
Oh, my gosh.
They did another episode on moon juice, which I think I had talked to you about.
Okay.
Where it's this woman that's a creator of like $14 smoothies and sex dust. Yeah. And then they just released last week an episode on Halo Top ice cream. This like super recent trend of like very low calorie ice cream. But they're also talking about how people are just stupid and they've turned it bad into diets where you just eat Halo Top ice cream.
What?
Yeah. Like they talk about this one guy that wrote a GQ article about it. He did it for 10 days, developed this insane canker sore. And like it had like all these terrible physical problems. And both Aubrey and Michael are like, what? Why? You didn't have to do that. You could just talk about how it's a good, it's a decent dessert. Like that's all it is. What are you doing? So I chose it for this theme because we're always chasing the idea of what our body should be. It explains all of these strange trends, fad diets, stupid desserts, snacks, all this kind of stuff.
Good Lord.
We've talked about this tons, obviously. We've recommended several books, including Aubrey Gordon's book.
Yes.
But I think this podcast is such a super unique take because they're looking at very specific things, digging deep and providing research into it to show how ridiculous they are and show kind of how ridiculous the whole idea of weight loss and all the stupid things we do to get there, how stupid it is. It's super entertaining. They have great chemistry. They're both very smart, very funny. I laugh a lot when I'm listening to it, and I also cringe a lot. Because
obvious reasons.
Because Halo Top ice cream is not a diet, my friend.
No, it's not.
It is not. Also, during that episode, Aubrey was talking about it. Michael had never had it, so they brought some, and Michael had been sort of like talking about how dumb this was and everything, and he tried it, and he's like, "God damn it, this is good."
Dang it. I hate that.
And he's like, but it's not an actual diet. This is not what you only eat.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Come on. Well, this is going to be no surprise to anyone because this is where I'm at.
Okay.
Bringing you a show from HBO Max.
Oh, boy. You are on trend. You are staying on the theme.
They should.
You love yourself some HBO Max.
We should have a sponsorship with them.
Once you figured out how to get it, it was all over.
Once I figured out what it was, I couldn't stop. So confusing and then so great.
Yeah.
So this show is called Search Party.
I love Search Party.
Oh, you've seen it? Okay.
I just finished all 3 seasons.
We did too.
Oh my God, this
Season
is
4, January 4th.
I know.
Yes. Okay.
I'm so glad you brought. This is such a weird show.
It's so weird. Okay, we started watching it because it's essentially about this lady that disappears.
Yeah.
So that's what you think you're getting into.
Yes.
It is not that at all.
No.
So Dory and Drew are in a relationship in the early 20s in New York, and they're kind of just getting by. Like, Dory works for this wealthy lady as an assistant, like doesn't do anything important and really doesn't even need an assistant. And Drew is working at an unpaid internship, hoping that it's going to like propel his business career. And they spend a lot of time with their 2 best friends, Elliot and Portia.
Elliot is my absolute favorite.
I can't.
God.
His facial expressions.
He's-
Just the things that he says. He's a self-proclaimed narcissist.
Yes.
And he's making a career out of being that.
He
Like,
sure
that's
is.
what he's doing.
Yep.
And he is one of the best characters ever.
So good.
He is fantastic. And Portia's like the struggling actress that's incredibly naive, but also very earnest and
means
sweet
well.
and bubbly. Yes.
Yeah.
So their college friend, and I'm going to put friend in quotes because
Yep.
it's really like an acquaintance that they kind of barely know. Chantel goes missing.
Weatherbottom.
Winterbottom.
It's a ridiculous name.
It's
and I
so
love
bad.
It. Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
So she's a poet, supposedly.
Gotta put that in quotations too. Yeah.
And she goes missing. And so, of course, all of the usual things are happening. A vigil at her parents' house. They've got posters. Everything like, oh my gosh, where is this woman? And Dory becomes obsessed. Mm-hmm. Kind of for a lot of reasons, but it kind of seems basically because she doesn't have a purpose. And somehow in her mind, this has gotten tied together. Like, I got to find this person.
Yeah.
And it sort of starts as a morbid curiosity, but then she does stumble upon a few weird coincidences that lead her to believe that she's actually out there and alive, which most people are assuming, like in a lot of these cases, that she's probably been murdered or is no longer alive. So that's where this story goes off the rails. And I really can't tell you anything else.
Yeah, I was just trying to think in my head, like, what else could you say? And
No. Trust me. From what we've said, you have no idea.
no, it is an insane ride.
Idea what's going to happen. And you can't stop. So you can get through 3 seasons because season 4 comes out on January 14th.
Yeah.
And where it ends, I can't wait to find out.
Oh my God.
But it is.
And they're very quick. Like, you can binge
so
this pretty
quick.
quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned, there's some humor, definitely.
God.
But I think it's just a really interesting character deep dive.
Yeah.
It's like watching characters change and evolve due to circumstance. That's so interesting and entertaining. And this one delivers like on every level. Like there's a person that's changing that you can relate to no matter what you're going through, because
But just the changes alone
Yes.
in Dory, like as you watch this, and her as an actress, holy shit,
So
like,
good.
so good. Aliyah Shawkat, I think, is
Yes.
how you pronounce her last name. Yeah, and I know we've seen her in a ton of things, but I've never seen her this committed, this insane. It's
so good.
yeah,
And Elliot, that
Oh my
is
God.
terrific. So obviously I picked for this theme because they're chasing Chantal.
yeah.
They are chasing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're chasing purpose, and they're chasing relationships. And we're just chasing after them to see what happens because it is terrific.
And every once in a while, there's a really cool like guest star. That,
Yes.
Like oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's some great stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
It is. We couldn't stop.
Whew. I'm so glad you talked about this because I've been watching it like just a few episodes at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to describe it to Garth and I was like, I don't know how to describe this. This is weird.
It is.
And if you haven't seen it, you can't really talk about how weird it goes in the different directions.
Yes,
And
because you kind of ruin it. That's why I was
Yeah.
struggling a little bit with my notes because
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to give anything away. Like when I say that you don't know where this is going, you do not know where this is going. It is terrific.
so I say just watch the first season. It will be very quick. And and then you were
You
definitely
sucked in.
hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. And you'll love Elliot, and you'll hate other people, and
You'll love and hate all of them, I think.
Yes,
Like,
that's
all
very
4 of
true.
them.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
there's so many times I'm like, Jesus, what is wrong
what are
with
you
all
doing?
of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff in there.
Elliot's clothing is something.
The
The hats, I put those in quotes.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
there's
yeah,
usually just like a skull cap and then like almost like a lawn chair type thing over the top. Yeah, I don't get it.
Yes.
But I like it.
This is so wonderful. I'm just going to throw this out there as a teaser. There's a party where he shits his pants.
Yes, there is.
And I could not stop laughing.
Yeah.
With him.
So I was like, oh, yep, that's about it.
And
yeah.
it was the way he did it was just so, it's happening. This is happening. This is happening. And he has to change his pants. And later someone comments on it. And he's like, I was always going to do a costume change. What are you? And it's totally believable.
Chloe Fineman is in it.
Yes. It took me a minute to place her.
Yeah.
I was like, how do I know her? And then, which terrific. We all know she's amazing at impersonations on SNL. And she plays the best possible thing, a Republican talk show pundit.
You bet.
And it is terrific. It's So watch it.
Oh,
It's a
search
summary.
party. Yeah, that's just watch a show.
Just watch a show and on HBO Max.
We really need to seek some sponsorship.
I know.
because you have been on point.
I have been.
I think it's been like 3 or 4 weeks in a row.
I know. And I had a
it was
list
one of your favorite things of last year.
of shows to pick from this
Oh,
week
boy.
that I haven't even talked about yet, and I realized they're all from HBO Max.
Oh, my
so I'm
goodness.
going
So
to
it's just gonna
challenge
be-
myself that next week it will not come from HBO Max. Okay?
But at what point should we contact HBO Max and be like, listen, you're missing out on a great opportunity here.
I am the
we do
spokesperson
it
you've
now?
been looking for.
Yeah.
All your content I'm
Yeah.
in. I have been watching everything. Equal opportunity across the board. In fact, make some more because I'm flying through it.
Yeah.
But I will. I'm going to challenge myself next week, my pop culture.
Why?
Because I feel like, I told you, go to the app. You're going to find lots of stuff. So
It really feels like you're getting paid for this, and you're not.
I'm not. I'm really,
No.
truly not, which
Yeah.
makes it sad almost. Now my instinct is to stop. So I think I will.
That's fair.
I'm going to
That's
stop
fair.
chasing HBO dollars.
We're going to be back next week. You may or may not be choosing something from HBO Max.
We'll see.
Yeah.
see.
But either way.
Happy reading.